towards the top of the sports development pyramid. We've looked at the foundation phase, the participation phase, the performance phase, and now we're going to concentrate on the elite phase or the excellent phase, okay? The highest level. Learning outcomes. By the end of this section, you should be able to identify what is required in order to support top performance. Appreciate how and why sports are funded to achieve excellence, and recognise the importance of having appropriate systems and funding in place for developing sporting excellence. Okay then, in terms of recommended reading, game plan, which we've already mentioned, the Department of Culture, Media and Sport, very relevant document, still lots of great information there. Climbing Higher, which has Welsh Government KPIs for excellence in sports, well worth taking a look there as well. Performance and Excellence Review from Sport Wales, also the Performance Strategy from Sport Wales. And of course the UK Sport website, which we should be getting quite used to looking at now and accessing. UK Sport is the leading organisation for overseeing and funding elite sport in the UK. Okay then, the excellence stage. Supporting performers by giving them every opportunity to achieve their best, nationally and internationally. A quick review of what this is actually. We are creating from a developmental perspective the right environment, the right resources and the right level of coaching. Key organisations include UK Sport, as we've just touched on, a variety of NGBs, national governing bodies. They will be responsible for the elite element of their own individual sport. If we look at Sport Wales, Sport Scotland and Sport Northern Ireland, in conjunction with their national governing bodies, they oversee the responsibility for elite sport in those nations. In England, it's slightly different, with Sport England has responsibility for community and grassroots sport, and UK Sport takes the lead for elite level athletes. So a little bit different there. So as I said, if we consider Sport Wales, Sport Scotland and Sport Northern Ireland, they also have responsibility for grassroots level, but they take the lead with elite level in their own country. Okay, I'd like you to do a task for me, please. What I'd like to do this time is I'd like you to identify what aspects of work a development role would need to focus on in the excellence stage of the sports development pathway. Again, take 10 to 15 minutes, do some research and let's get back together afterwards. I'm not going to go into too much detail in terms of the task you've just completed. I think that was very beneficial for you nonetheless. And you probably come up with some ideas involving the right people, getting the right people involved, and having effective resources in place in order to support elite level athletes. I'm also sure that you've started to realise the importance of the various funding mechanisms, and this leads us on to what a sports development officer needs to do in order to support these or those elite performers. I'd like us to break up again for another short task. Let's use football as an example. If you want to consider another sport, that's fine. Take the thoughts you've already gathered about what a development role would entail at this level, and let's do some further discussion, okay? I'd like you to discuss or consider what support top performers need to have in place in order to increase the possibility of success at the top level. If you do decide to concentrate on football, then to be honest, the support an elite footballer would require is not that different from a top level athlete in another sport. It's just how the support is applied that's different. Again, take 10 to 15 minutes to consider this and we'll get back together afterwards. Supporting excellence. I asked you to discuss what support top performers would need to have in place in order to increase the possibility of success. So let's see some ideas, okay? Let's just go over some ideas that I've come up with as well. So in terms of supporting top performers, some things that may be included there. Free training at high-level sports facilities. These people don't really expect to turn up and pay. Elite environments, for example. I'm thinking of Dragon Park in Newport in Wales, St George's Park in Stafford, national sports centres such as the Welsh Institute for Sport in Cardiff. These facilities are maintained to elite standards. There's been huge investments in terms of capital investment placed in them, their daily running and their daily maintenance. Elite level athletes may also consider unrestricted access to training facilities. they may consider that's part of the deal. If we look at football, most professional clubs have their own training ground and their own sort of private training gyms and so on. England, of course, have access to St George's Park. Sports science support is another important area that elite level performers will require access to. There's a range of sports science professionals potentially involved here. Some examples could include sports psychologists, performance analysts, and also strength and conditioning coaches. Along these lines, we can also consider sports medical backup. Now, this is obviously vital in addition to physiotherapists and support for injury. There will also be access to healthcare professionals, such as sports doctors. We've also seen, of course, an increase in the use of various therapies, such as cryotherapy, in recent years. Definitely, elite athletes would expect to have some specialist support in terms of medical backup there. Lifestyle management training is often an area we perhaps wouldn't consider as readily as we may consider sports science support with an elite athlete. In many sports, top-level athletes may not be fully professional. They may need support to balance a full training schedule with the demands of work and other lifestyle elements and commitments, for example. A younger athlete, possibly, may still be at university. Of course, this could be very difficult in order to balance things properly. So when we look at lifestyle management, that may also include athlete career transition in terms of advice given there, and also injury support and transition and rehabilitation. This may link into counselling services. As we know, there are many stresses that could potentially affect elite athletes. Some level of counselling will be provided. Different sports will have different levels of support. Employment opportunities. As we've discussed, not all elite athletes may be in employment, whether full-time or otherwise. There's a link here to lifestyle management. Some semi-professional athletes, elite athletes I should say, may need advice in terms of career options. Obviously, this may not be the case in top-flight football. They earn quite enough, I think. Not true for all levels. The further we go down the ranks, then the more we could look at performance as opposed to elite stages as well. So we need to remember that we are focusing on the elite stage here. We really need to consider what is directly applicable to the elite phase. On your PowerPoint, you'll see a hyperlink for the English Institute of Sport. This link highlights very clearly the range of support services that should be available to elite performers. They have a number of bases across England, such as those at Bath and Loughborough universities. They're extremely well resourced, as one would imagine. Take a break, take 10 minutes or so to have a look at this information.